President David Henson, who has come on the job in the past couple of months and has just done a yeoman's job in taking control of this foundation and making this week a success. And thank you to his staff for your incredible work to make this week what it is. We are looking forward to one of the greatest ALC weeks in the history of the foundation. I came to the first CBC dinner 49 years ago. It was at the Sheraton Park Hotel way out on Calvert Street in Northwest. The tickets were $100 for the dinner. And it was a grand event, but it was a social event. But down through the years, the ALC has evolved into what you see today. We are not just a group of people who get together for social purposes this week. We are about serious business. And the foundation understands that and makes sure that this week is a very informative week, but it will be concluded this weekend with a powerful prayer breakfast on Saturday morning with Yolanda Adams as our guest, and Howard John Wesley, the distinguished pastor of Alpha Street Baptist Church, as the preacher for the hour. Saturday evening will be the Phoenix Awards dinner. I encourage all of you who can to please attend all of these events this evening. But thank you, David, for your incredible work. And I know and you know that you cannot do this alone. If you did not have very capable staff working with you, this would not happen. And so thank you to all of you. Also, thanks to Senator Richmond, Congressman Richmond, who is not here now. He is in a hearing. As Congresswoman Wilson and I are supposed to be in a hearing right now. We're going to be departing momentarily, but thank you publicly to Cedric for all the work that he does for all of us. And Karen Bass, the phenomenal chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. Karen is from California, and Karen worked so very hard in taking our 55 members to a level that we have never seen before. And finally, to my co-chair, Congresswoman Frederica Wilson from Southern Florida, a woman who is not only a powerful voice in Florida, but a powerful voice here on Capitol Hill. And it's been a pleasure to work with Frederica over the last few months to make this week happen. Frederica has brought some new ideas into the conversation, and she is to be thanked and appreciated for that work. You know, when we went home for the August recess, I thought that everything was in the hands of David Henson. But Sister Wilson continued to work with David and his staff to put some ideas on the table, and you will see the fruits of their labor as we go forward this week. And so thank you. The theme for this week is something that we struggled over a few months ago, and we finally distilled it and got it to a very short phrase, and it's called 400 Years, Our Legacy, Our Possibilities. When we talk about 400 years, and I'm not going to give a history lecture today, even though it's very tempting. Jim Clyburn is our resident historian in the caucus, but I'm probably in second place, and I would love to talk about what this 400 years means, but let me just see if I can give it to you in a few words. In 1619, the first Africans landed in the Commonwealth of Virginia. 12.5 million African citizens were transshipped across the Atlantic. Some 600,000, not all 12 million, some 600,000 of those 12 million ended up on southern plantations in the United States. Not all 12 million of those survived the voyage. Some 2 million did not make it. Why? Some jumped overboard. They could not take the humiliation. Others died from famine and disease. But some 10 million actually arrived in our country. And this was pre-Constitution. This was before the United States Constitution was enacted. But finally, the Constitution was finalized, and it was put into effect on March 4th of 1789. At that very moment, there were 700,000 slaves in the South. 700,000. But what goes unnoticed from time to time is that there was a provision in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 9, that protected the slave trade for at least 20 years. You may not know that. Written into the original Constitution was a provision that said that the transshipment of slaves from Africa could exist for at least another 20 years, and there could not be any constitutional amendment that would change that. And so that set the date of being January 1st of 20 years later, whatever that would be, 1808 was the effective date that Congress could even address the transatlantic shipment of slaves. So finally, on January 1st of 1808, the transatlantic shipment of slaves ended, but the point that I want to make is that slavery did not end. Only the transatlantic trade ended in 1808. But starting in 1808, even though they could not bring in slaves from Africa, the number of slaves residing in the U.S. continued to increase, all the way to the point that when 1865 came, there were 4 million slaves living in the South. And that's when the 13th Amendment was added to the Constitution. On January 31st of 1865, the Congress of the United States, after the Civil War was coming to an end, passed the 13th Amendment, and it was finally ratified after Lincoln's death on December 6th of 1865. So etch that in your memory. It was not the Emancipation Proclamation that particularly legally ended slavery in America. It was the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution that officially and legally ended slavery in America, December 6, 1865. And so we're going to not celebrate, that's not the right word, we're not even going to commemorate, we're going to observe the 400th anniversary of the first arrival of slaves in America. So welcome to this annual conference. I look forward to seeing many of you, and let's have some fun, but also let's have some serious conversation. Thank you very much.